Friends, welcome back to this virtual classroom. We will continue the topic controlling. Under controlling, we will let us understand today, let us discuss today the controlling techniques. We will discuss on the topic controlling techniques. So, as you know that controlling is the you can say one of the most important managerial process which will help you to minimize the wastages, which will help you to understand the deviations, which will help you to generate the different reports related to the managerial process or the production plant and rectify that, and immediately the problem can be solved if the controlling system will be properly implemented. But what are the basic techniques are there which will help you to control the different production plan, different systems in a proper manner. Even today your all the biggest production plants which are running in all over world, like they basically follows different systems. Some financial systems are there, some computerized systems are there, some analytical systems are there, which are which are generally used and to control the wastages in the biggest plants, because many times even the whatever systematic planning we have, we could not be able to handle the manpower, we could not be able to handle the resources properly, we could not be able to handle the machineries properly, we could not be able to handle the different resources which are basically used for the production processes, because many times even though everything is okay, due to some external factors also we have to face the trouble. We even suppose today we are producing a particular product, the entire demand has been is not is getting failed or getting decreased for that particular product. How to handle that? Suppose one new competitor came to the market, emerged to the market, your product is not demanded by the people. So, for that there are certain major techniques are there which is which has to be understood by the manager to handle the different wastages in the production plant. First, let us understand like what is this, why we have to follow these techniques, because these are the procedural steps, these are the logical sequence of analyzing the problems, analyzing the situation, analyzing the availability of resources, analyzing the financial condition of the company, then only you can handle the production in a proper manner. To handle this, there are two aspects of these techniques. One is the traditional procedures, another is the modern procedures. In the traditional technique, there is the techniques are this budgetary control, production planning control, inventory control, break-even analysis, profit loss control, and statistical analysis are different procedures. We will discuss one by one. They are the traditional techniques, like from the very early period of the production plants, they are using these techniques to control their wastages or control the damages in the production plant. And the modern techniques are return on investment, economic value added, then POT, critical path method, management information systems, and management audit. These are the modern techniques. Nowadays every organization is following all these things. Without the application of these modern techniques, it is not possible to handle the financial resources, or because for every activity, for every production work, we require a huge quantity of finance to handle in a proper manner. So, these are the you can say the techniques, these are the mathematical techniques which has to be mathematical techniques, and you can say the procedures which has to be utilized, which has to be implemented to handle different wastages, to take care of the corrective measures in the plant, to handle the difficulties of the production plant. Let us discuss one by one how this control has to be implemented. Let us first discuss the budgetary control. Here in budgetary control, how this is basically helpful for the organization. If you are preparing a budget, if you are preparing the expenses details, like how much money is required for different activities of the production process, then that will help you to spend the money in the spend the money for particular elements or the particular material. If you are taking, or if you are using maximum of money for a particular aspect of the production, then the money will not be available for handling all other activities of the production plant. So, in budgetary control, here the budget has to be prepared for different purposes. The budget has to be prepared. Here budget means the expenditure details, the expenses are required for which it has to be spent. So, before happening of the production process, the manager has to prepare different budgets for the different purposes of the production plant, and which will be basically help you to eliminate your wastages of the time, money and resources, and it basically helps you to improve the profitability of the organization. How it will help you to improve the profitability? Because as you have fixed the money for raw material, as you have fixed the money for maintenance purposes, as you have fixed the money for manpower engagement, so extra things will not be required, because it is already fixed for certain purposes, for a particular output. If this is the output, these are the requirement, that has to be segregated, that has to be, the expenses details has to be prepared. So, that is how that will help the manager to fix the responsibility to the subordinate, to fix the responsibility that this much of money is spent for this. So, this should be the result. So, before that they will not getting, no one will be getting biased that how much money is required for this purpose, how much what quality of product will be purchased out of this particular money. So, here everyone is getting the correct instruction that this amount of money is there for a particular purpose. So, there will be no confusion that beyond that any extra money will be spent. So, that budget will help the organization to help the manager to run the entire production activity in a proper manner. There will be the expenditure details, like how much money will be required for the particular purposes has to be prepared. Let us understand, like before preparing the budget, if the organization is not in a proper shape, what are the essentials, what are the requisite conditions are available with the organization, then that will help the manager to prepare the different budget. So, those essential elements are, first is organization itself. If the organization is not a systematic organization, then the classification of the entire records and you can say the budgetary control system is not there itself with the organization. If the management is not ready to supply the information, then budget cannot be prepared. So, organization of budgetary control should be there, where the systematic managements you can say the executives are there, the committee has to be there, then all informations has to be communicated to the managers properly, then only they can prepare the budget. So, organization itself is essential. Unless until one organization is interested to prepare the budget, then they cannot prepare the budget. Then say, in the other aspect is the budget center. Budget center is that part of the organization for which the budget is prepared. So, in an organization there should be one particular department where the budget center, where the budget has to be prepared. So, unless until the production unit, unless until the production unit is there, unless until the work itself is there, then budget will not be prepared. So, whether every organization is having the budget center or not, budget center means a place where the budget has to be prepared for the different activities. So, budget center must be there. Then budget manual. What is this budget manual? It is a document which spells out the duties and responsibilities of various executives concerned with the budget. So, in budget manual everything is written in a clear manner, that all executives who are responsible for different activities, how much money they can spend, how much budget, how much money is available for them, and what decision they have to take to spend the money. So, all details will be written in the manual. Like for all government organizations, there is a manual of how to spend the money for different purposes. So, the budget manual is a record where everyone can get easily the information how to spend the money. Then budget officer. So, here the budget officer is empowered to scrutinize the budgets prepared by the different executives. The budget officer has to see that whether whatever the proposed budget has come for the department, he has to see that whether this is appropriate or not, because every organization generally runs in that condition. Nobody can spend a single extra money for different purposes. So, before spending the money, you have to prepare the proper document that you have to justify how much money is required for the production purpose or for the engagement of the laborers or engagement of the machineries. So, that budget has to be prepared. Suppose 6 batches of production will be done, suppose 10 lakhs rupee is required. So, the budget officer has to see whatever the proposed budget is having the proper justifications or not. Why they want 10 lakhs rupee, why they want why not 5 lakhs. So, the proper justification must be given for spending the money, that has to be verified by the budget officer. Then budget committee. A budget committee is a particular group of people like from different departments. They basically consisted of a committee, and they generally see whether whatever budget has been prepared, they have to pass the budget for the expenditure. They have to again verify it and approve it for the expenditure. So, this is what these are the conditions where the budgetary control is to implement the budgetary control. These are the essential conditions which are required in an organization to prepare different budgets and approve the budgets and implement the budgets. And the other aspect is budget period. A budget period is the length of time for which a budget is prepared. When a budget is prepared, the expenditure details is prepared for a particular production activity, it must consisting of a time schedule. Is it for 6 months, is it for 1 year, it is for 1 month, what is the budget period? So, the budget has to be at least be prepared for the 1 year. So, that is what the budget period. Suppose for the production plant, suppose how many batches of production they are preparing the budget. So, in that case the budget period has to be mentioned. And then the determination of the key factors. Here key factor is one of the essential aspect of preparing this budgetary control, because suppose one budget is fixed for the raw material, and depending on the raw materials budget, then other budget has to be prepared, because how much raw material has to be prepared, then it depends on the number of units has to be produced out of that raw material. So, accordingly how many manpower will be engaged for that, how many batches of production will be done, how many hours will be engaged, the machineries will be engaged, how many maintenance cost will be there. So, all these what are the operational cost is required for the production plant. So, these are the different these are the key factors. Depending on one budget, then other budgets will be getting followed up. Means once the raw material budget is getting prepared, then other budgets for maintenance budgets and the manpower cost and the production planning cost, everything has to be fixed depending on the raw materials purchase. So, it says that once the key factor is identified and the budget is prepared, then the other related budget of the material has to be prepared on the basis of the first factor. So, that is what a manager has to identify, the first on what key factor they have to prepare the budget, on what key factor they have to prepare the budget. So, these are the essentials of the budgetary control. When you are preparing the budget, you have to take care of these elements in an organization. Then what are the types of budget generally prepared for the production plant to go for a controlling steps? First is your sales budget, including selling and distribution cost, then production and manufacturing budget, like what are the raw materials will be purchased and what is the quality of the raw materials, and how many people will be there. So, regarding that, whatever the manufacturing requires or manufacturing during the manufacturing of a particular product, what are the essential requirements are there, those has to be the expenses has to be enlisted here. Then purchase budget, like how much money, how much, whether how much is through cash you are going to purchase, how much things you are going to purchase in credit. So, that purchase budget has to be prepared depending on the production activity. Then administrative expenses, how many people will be engaged, how many executives will be engaged. So, related to that expenses has to be designed. Then research and development budget for the organization, these are basically the R&D budgets are basically prepared by the biggest organization, those who are having the research and development wings for the different products. Then cash budget, how much money you are keeping with you for the daily requirements, daily operational activities. So, these are the types of budgets has to be prepared to control the production activity. Unless until the expenditure details, the expenses has to be forecasted, has to be calculated earlier, then the money cannot be spent for the different production activity. So, this is one of the most important process for the controlling the production activity and minimizing the wastages in the production plants. Then one of the, you can say, out of all budgeting system, one of the most essential budgeting system is the JBB, that is zero based budgeting. So, in this concept, how to prepare the budget? This concept says that when someone prepares the budget, he must prepare it from the scratch. So, scratch means like from all details, all manager has to justify their entire budget. Whoever is giving the budget, whoever giving the expenditure details to spend the money, they have to give the justification why they wanted to spend the money. What is the justification is there? Suppose someone says that like we will engage 100 people. Why 100 people? Why not 50? So, where is the problem lies? In what workplaces how many people will be engaged? Like how many man hours are required to complete the job? How many days, how many working hour they have to devote in the during the workplace? So, that is what called zero based budgeting system, where the entire details of the expenditure has to be justified. Is for a single penny of money has not been spent for any like without any purpose. So, every penny has to be of money has to be justified why it has been spent for this work. So, that is what called this zero based budgeting system, which is the most important budgeting system for the organizations, because it will give you the clear cut idea about the expenditure of the different amount of money for different purposes. So, the manager has to evaluate the current activities on the regular basis, and he has to find out for what purposes, how much money. He can easily estimate that how much money is required for a particular work, because that will give you, this JBB system will give you the clear cut idea about how much money is required for what purposes in an instant basis. That is what zero based budgeting system. Then coming to the standard costing. Standard costing is something which here in this system, the costs and expenses associated with every activity are recorded and classified, then compared with the budget cost. Once you are preparing the budget, many times whatever you have planned it, sometimes it will not matches with the whatever is practically spent for different purposes. So, in that case, on an everyday basis, even once the budget is approved, then the money is spent for the work. Everyday basis, how much money is getting spent for the particular work, again it has to be recorded, again it has to be calculated, again it has to be matched with the whatever they have planned. Suppose they have planned that on everyday basis, suppose 10,000 rupee will be spent, but while on everyday basis when the costing is recorded, then it is found that only 7,000 rupees is getting spent, 3,000 rupees is not required. So, in that case here you will find out there is a gap, in the planning. So, whatever you have planned for the budget, the less amount is spent during the activity. So, that is how the standard costing has to be done, like on an everyday basis how much money is spent for the production process. So, because everyday's activity, the everyday spending of money has to be recorded, again that has to be segregated on what head it has to be spent, and finally, it has to be matched with the budgeted cost, whatever budget has been sanctioned for the particular activity. That is what the standard costing procedure. Now comes this financial ratio analysis. This is also one of the most important and accepted budgetary accepted controlling system, where the money has can be properly analyzed, the financial condition can be properly analyzed, the working condition of the company can be properly analyzed, so that the organizations can keep all the records. So, let us understand this what is this financial ratio analysis. Here all our organizations generally prepares the profit and loss account and balance sheet. Why they are preparing this? To keep the records, whatever profit comes, whatever account transactions happens in relation to in terms of money, that has to be, the entire record has to be prepared, and then basing on that profit and loss, then whatever expenditure was basically done in an organization, depending on that the balance sheet is prepared, how much money is income is basically earned and how much money is spent, whether it is matching to that, whether you have spent extra, whether you have spent less, whatever you have planned to spend. So, in that case the organization they maintains a detailed record related to financial transaction. So, once you are keeping the record, then you can analyze the past 5 years record, that whether now whatever money you are spending, whether you are spending more or whether you are spending on average basis or whether you are spending less. So, you will find out the details related to how much money you are spending for the organizations. So, you can assess the profitability as well as the loss aspect when you are going for this ratio analysis. Last year you have spent this amount of money, this year you are spending this amount of money. So, that will help you to understand the turnover of the organization, what profit you are getting by bringing any change, by modifying the system, by spending extra money. Sometimes we are not, suppose last year you have spent some amount of money, this year you are spending some little extra, then in that case what is the turnover after spending little extra money, then whatever turnover you are getting, whatever profit you are getting out of the entire work. So, this comparative study of the statements, like whatever financial statements you are preparing this out of this profit and loss account, then you can get the details regarding the financial benefit as well as the loss conditions of the organization. You can also analyze the turnover of the organizations. That is how this financial ratio analysis is required. This ratio analysis basically is the relation between the various elements of financial statements are expressed in mathematical terms. While you are going for this financial ratio analysis, whatever on the basis of what the financial statement is prepared, here the elements means on what head you have spent the money. Like on raw material, how much you have spent the money, for manpower how much you have spent the money, for miscellaneous expenses how much money you have spent, for labor cost how much money you have spent. Like when the different elements of production work, the expenditure details are there, Suppose for paperwork, how much money you have spent, for purchase of machineries, how much money you have spent. So, when different heads are segregated, then each element has to be analyzed through this financial ratio analysis. So, in that way the relationship between the financial and elements between the different financial statements are basically understood by the manager. Like suppose you have purchased this much of raw material, then accordingly this amount of raw material requires all these other expenses. If that is getting less, then the expenditure will be less. So, that can be easily understood unless until you find out the relationship why the expenditure got more, because unless until you purchase extra, then expenditure is also getting you have to spend more money to take care of all these raw materials. So, here in ratio analysis you will find out the detailed expenditures, and you can compare the past year's expenditure, you can find out the clear cut idea about how much money, how much profit you are getting after all expenditure of the, after all spending of the money, or after deducting all the expenditure related to the production plant. So, this is also one of the controlling technique which will give you the clear cut idea about the financial expenditures on different heads of the production plant. Then comes to the internal audit. What is this internal audit? Internal audit is the appraisal, or you can say the checking, or you can say the verifying of the accounting, financial and other operations of the business activity. When internal audit means the organization itself verifies its own activity. Many times we never likes to verify ourselves, because we never try to find out our mistakes, but to judge properly, to find out the defects or to find out the problems what is happening within the organization, the internal audit team, a group of audit team, they will verify whatever the planning has been done, whether the properly those works are properly done or not, whatever the financial instructions are there, as per that the money has been spent or not, whatever the quality standards is fixed, whether as per that the materials are purchased or not, whatever targeted lines will be given, whether that is getting achieved or not. So, all these things, like suppose any particular branded product has to be purchased, whether that is getting purchased or not, whether below quality product is getting purchased or not. So, these are verified by the internal audit team. They will go by each and every process, and they will see each and every documents, whether proper as per the official instructions and guidelines, people have done the work or not, people have spent the money on that line or not, whether somebody has deviated in that. If deviations will be there, then explanations will be called for to that person. So, these are basically the role of the internal audit. They will find out where the deviation happens. So, corrective measures immediately takes care, and that is also suggested by the internal auditor team. They will immediately take care of the corrective measures. So, if the organization is not implementing the appropriate policies for the policies for spending the money. And that is why the internal control system is highly essential, and that can be done through internal audit system. Next is your break-even analysis. As a student of commerce and management, this is a very common thing which you are aware, but let me give you a simple idea related to break-even analysis. So, how to go for this break-even analysis? When someone spends the money, he will be always trying that how to get back the money immediately. After suppose someone invest 5,000, 10,000 or 1 lakh rupee for a particular starting of the business. So, from the starting of the business, like he will try to get back the money after starting initiation of the business. So, how much time he is taking to get back the money? So, after 1 month he found that 1 lakh rupee has been coming back to him. So, at that point where he is getting the 1 lakh of money, that point is called the break-even point. It means like there is no profit and no loss. It means whatever money I have spent in my business, I got back. So, that point is called the break even point. After that, whatever he will be earning after that getting of 1 lakh back 1 lakh money which he had spent as the founding you can say the major expenditure for the business, then he after that whatever he will earn that will be coming as a profit to him or the extra money he is earning. But before that whatever he is earning, that is not called as any earning or to the, or you can say any profit to the business. So, when the point has come, the point where he is getting back his invested money, first invested money, that is called the break even point. So, let us understand it in other way. That break even analysis is a point of no profit and no loss, and it can be used as a control technique for the expenditure, because whenever unless until you get back your break even money, you should not go for other expenditure in the business, because always a businessman will try to get back his first investment money, whatever money he had invested. Let us earn that first, then only the other expenditure has to be planned. So, it will also helps to identify the minimum sales volume which is required to prevent the loss, like minimum at least how much product has to be sold after starting of the business, so that he can get back his he can get back his invested money. So, it is an essential step for the manager to understand how to achieve the break even when any business will be started or any work will be initiated. When the production activity basically runs, where is the break even point? Suppose this amount of raw material is spent, suppose by within 2 batch of production you can get back the money. So, 2 batch of production must be done, so that the investor and those products has to be sold in the market, and then the production cost will be you can get it back. So, that is how the break even analysis is essential to understand where it has to be till someone meets someone reaches to the break even point, someone reaches to the no loss and no profit point, then till that they have to struggle for the business. Then after that the profit will be calculated, whatever money they will come they will earn, that will be taken as the extra money they are earning out of the business. That is what called break even analysis. It will also help to compare the budgeted and actual profit. Once the when the budget is getting prepared and profit, if someone wanted to understand how much profit they are getting, whatever budget is prepared, if the break even point is not meeting, then the profit will not be analyzed. So, by analyzing break even point, then you can get the detailed picture of the profit whatever you are getting out of the products out of the selling of the product. This is the break even analysis is most essential technique to understand the loss condition as well as the profitable condition of the organization. Then comes your then let us understand the statistical analysis and control. Because whatever quantification of the data we are doing, whatever quantification of the information we are doing for handling different organizational activities or production plant activities, it requires certain mathematical applications, it requires certain statistical methods, formulas to analyze that. So, because unless until we implement the statistical methods, unless until we use the statistical methods, we cannot represent the data, like diagrams, charts, then different analytical steps. If those are like this percentage method, like this average method, ratio analysis, if those are not used, if those are not used for the calculation, then we cannot quantify the data, we cannot get the appropriate result of the data. because unless until we quantify the production activities, like number of man hours, number of machineries, number of output, number of duration, like how much hour is required, how much days are required, how much money is required, unless those are analyzed properly, then the production activity will be facing a lot of problem. So, the statistical tools are basically used to find out the deviations. Unless until the quantification of those production activities are there, you cannot find out the deviations or the gaps which are happening in the production activity. So, these deviations, comparisons of various ratios, average, percentages of which are basically used to identify the different quantifications or the gaps during the production plan. And the charts or diagrams are basically used to represent the data or to understand the different positions of the production activity. That is how the marketing, sales and production department they present different production activity through by using the statistical tools. That is how the statistical analysis is used for the controlling technique. Unless we get the data, we cannot go for corrective measures. And then let us understand the network analysis, that is CPM and POT. CPM is the critical path method and POT is the progressive evaluation and review technique. So, these are basically the network analysis during the in the production plants. In this, these procedures are used to estimate the time schedule for a worker, how much time is required by the worker at different workplaces, and what are the complex activities. Where is the deviations happens, where is the you can say how much energy someone requires, how much money is getting spent, how much time is spent, how much duration is required to complete a particular work, how many workplaces someone is moving. So, these are where like what are the activities which are very smooth activities, what are the activities are the complex activities. Like beyond that we cannot expect the work from a particular person, because this is a very difficult activity. So, this analysis is basically done by this critical path method analysis and this progressive evaluation and review technique analysis. In that way, these two methods generally gives you the details regarding the activity of the worker in different workstations. So, how this will help us? This will help the manager to reschedule the entire work process, to rearrange the time schedule, to rearrange the workstations, to monitor the work in a proper manner. It will help him to rescheduling the work activities and how much manpower skills are required to handle the activity. All these things can be easily understood. Where the slippages are happening, slippages means the wastage of time is there, where the people are wasting the time from walking from one place to another place. All these analysis can be easily done through these two processes, so that the manager will identify how much time and how much money has to be spent to do a particular work, and can we reduce that, can we reduce the activity by changing any workstation. So, that will help him to rearrange the time schedule and refixing the time duration to complete a particular work. So, these are two most important statistical techniques which is used in the production plants to analyze the people's activity and people's activity in the different workstations. Now let us understand this economic value added. This is a particular method which basically calculated for measuring the financial performance of the organizations. Whatever money which is being spent, spent for the out of the income which is generally generated by the organization, and when the organization is running and spending those money for the production purposes, what profit they are getting. So, there is a formula to calculate this economic value added or you can say extra profit which you are getting, extra benefit you are getting. So, that can be calculated by operating profit after tax, whatever money you are spending, whatever money you are getting after paying the tax divided by weighted average cost of the capital. So, this calculation by doing this calculation you can get all the details, all the appropriate financial condition and financial expenditure of the company. How it basically helps, because the calculation helps to measure the detailed expenditure of the organization, detailed profit of the organization, and it will try to give you the economic profit, economically how much profit the company is getting, and it helps to quantify the amount of capital invested and weighted average cost of the capital. So, you have to find out that how much money is basically invested and how much is on day to day basis, how much money is spending for the different purposes. So, when that is getting calculated, what extra profit they are getting after all expenditure, it can easily give you the details, because it is the extra economic way of spending the money. You have to find out the benefit out of that. So, this is one of the major controlling technique which is used in the used for the controlling steps. Then return on investment, ROI. Return on investment is one of the major yardstick for measuring the efficiency of the organizations. So, return on investment means how much money you have invested for a particular purpose, and out of that are you getting whatever you have invested. Suppose that has to be calculated, because whatever profit you will be earning after your investment, you are getting the profit, or whatever investment you have done, you are only getting the profit out of that. So, how to calculate the profit? So, this is the best calculation for handling for understanding the understanding your profitable conditions, or understanding what extra benefit which you are getting after the investment. So, the return on investment is calculated by dividing operating net profit before interest and tax and by the capital employed. So, one can easily calculate the ROI for getting a clear cut you can say financial details, financial status of the company, that how much turnover they are getting, how much return they are getting out of the investment money. Because whatever profit you are earning, that depends on the capital which you are engaging or using for the production purposes. That is how a manager must know how to calculate the ROI for the different purposes, so that they can get the clear picture related to financial investment and controlling the expenditure in different production activities. Then coming to the management audit. Management audit is basically almost same as the internal audit. Here it is also done for the assessing the entire executive's work or entire organizational work in an organizations. So, it is a group of people who will be selected as the internal auditors, or they will be selected from the different departments, and they will verify the different processes and different documentations, different expenditure details, whether that is systematically done or not. They are the independent body, and they independently verify all these documents. It is basically done to find out the effectiveness of the organization, whether the organization is running in a transparent manner, whether it is running in in a poor condition, whether the documentations are proper or not. So, this management audit will be highly helpful for looking after, even they will also verify the documents of people, how the people are engaged in different positions, whether they are having the right efficiency level or not, whether they are meeting the appropriate criteria or not. All the documents are verified. This is otherwise you can say the HR audit. This is otherwise known as the HR audit, where all the documentations of the organization related to infrastructure, manpower, machineries, every documentation related to different processes, departmental works, everything has been properly verified by the management audit team. And whatever deviations happens, whatever deviations are find out by the team, that will be informed and intimated to the different departments, and they will again recorrect it and finally submit the document to the audit team. That is what the management audit. This management audit is also used for the one of the major controlling system, where people will not do the wrong activity, or they will always try to follow the right approach to do the work. Coming to the management information system, this is a most modern technique in the controlling aspect, because through management information system the entire activity can be computerized. Networking system is there, where everywhere when someone sits in some places, even though they are sitting in some places, they can get and access the data of different departments. So, it will not take time to waste, it will not you can easily get the data, and it will you can't waste time for that. So, you can generate the report by sitting at some places, and immediately you can take the corrective measures. So, basically it reduces the wastages of time and cost. So, these are generally nowadays in all banks, post offices, government organizations, in business, big companies, IT firms. This MIS was one of the management information system, is one of the most essential system which is implemented through computerized system, and the people who are working at different positions, they can easily access to the data, they can easily generate the reports, they can easily, suppose 1000 employees are working, how the salary will be getting prepared, the attendance report can be easily tracked, and the report is prepared, then people, the salary can be prepared immediately. So, this MIS is one of the most essential controlling agency, controlling technique, because any data, any information at any point of time we can generate from the computer, we can generate from the networking system. So, we will not depend on someone that why you have not done the work. If he has not done the work, it will also reflected on the monitor screen on the computer, and if that person will be given some instruction through mail, he can be given instruction that you have to comply the work within this stipulated period of time. So, this is how to maintain the accuracy of the data and to provide the adequate data and timely information, feedbacks and proper corrective measures, everything, report generations, it can easily be possible by the management information system, and this is the most modern system in the controlling technique, because easily one can use the technique and easily get the data and handle different managerial activities. So, these are all about the controlling techniques which can be implemented in different production plants as well as biggest organizations to run the organization in a very disciplined manner, systematic manner. It will help to control the wastages of money, it will help to manage the time, it will help to estimate the budget properly, it will help to control the wastages of the resources, and easily one can do the work. And nowadays the like for estimation of the entire project, that can be also easily done. If you want to invest 1 crores of rupee for a particular project, all segregations can be done through software, and you can get it and you can also start up the work. So, controlling is something it is a step where it will give you the right direction, it will help you to take care of the deviations or the gaps or the problems, difficulties which are generally identified during the work process, and you can control it. You can go for a corrective measure. Unless you find out the mistake, unless you find out the problems during the work process, how can you take the corrective measures? To go for a corrective measures, you have to know where is the difficulty, where is the problem arises. This is what called the controlling techniques, and the which are the one of the greatest methods to handle the different activities in the small organizations as well as the big organizations. With this, we are completing this topic, controlling technique. Thank you. Bye bye.